Welcome to the sixth lesson in the curriculum Grammar with Clarity for Everyone. This particular lesson is going to be lengthy. We have a lot to cover. The topic of this is types of phrases. So I'm going to actually break this one into two distinctive videos. There will be several pages of notes that we're going to take, but I'm just positive that by the end of the two lessons, as we're working through the notes, you're going to start to feel quite a bit of confidence related to these subjects. So with that in mind, we're going to need to have a full range of colors from your colored pencils. Specifically, you are going to need purple, pink, orange, yellow, green, dark blue, red, light blue. Yep, I think that's all of them. And you need a sharpened pencil. You need several sheets of college-ruled notebook paper. All right, let's begin. All right, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and put 6A. We're going to have 6A and 6B. So let's put 6A on one sheet of paper. And then we're going to have a second sheet of paper, not the back side of this one, but a second sheet that is also going to be labeled 6A. So 6A will have two sheets that we're going to go back and forth between them throughout this lesson. The next thing I want you to do is identify the title of these notes, which will be types of phrases. All right, so with our notes, we've been using different strategies. We've been using bullet points, asterisks, color, making sure that we have good white space going on, bolding things, using blocking. All of these techniques are incredibly helpful when we are going back and glancing at items that we've learned, but specifically when there's so much information that's contained in one lesson. And that's definitely the case with this lesson and the next one. So the first thing we're going to do, I want to let you know that we're going to be having two general asterisks here. We're not going to use bullet points, but we'll use asterisks. Just the two things to remind you of what a phrase is. And from that point forward, we're going to be breaking down each type of phrase. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and write an asterisk, not a bullet point, an asterisk. And you're going to write a phrase is a group of words with a job to do. And then the next line, not another asterisk, but the next line, we can figure out its job based upon its name. Okay, now we're going to skip a line and do another asterisk. And this is a reminder from the Venn diagram that we did in the last lesson, which is that it's always going to be missing either a subject or a predicate or both. So that's what we're going to write next. And then we're done with defining what a phrase is in general, okay? So we're going to write will always be missing. Either a subject, and then we're going to underline a subject, comma, a predicate, and underline a predicate, comma, and then or both. Give that two exclamations and underline or both. We also want, so these are the three things that we want to be underlined because we want that to jump out at us. But also another part of this statement here is that the fact that something's going to be missing. So we want the fact that something's going to be missing to jump out when we're glancing at this paper. That's why we're going to put a box around that, okay? So again, just some little note-taking strategies. The next thing we're going to do, and we're going to be going back and forth between our two sheets of paper, we're going to create a phrase poem. So we're going to just over here, go down a couple of lines and then over to the right, a phrase poem. This is a little trick to help you kind of remember the distinction. And then come down, actually let's underline phrase poem, come down to the first skip a line, come down here, and I want you to write, and notice how there's all this space over here. This is important because we're going to be writing something else here, okay? I want you to write the friendly teenager. And then skip a line with a huge heart. And then skip a line, has stood firm. Skip a line, very stubbornly. And then the last line, protecting the bullied student. Okay. So this is a phrase poem. Now, each of these is a different type of phrase, and we're going to use color coding and we're going to name them over here. We're going to work one at a time. As we do one, then we're going to move to our other sheet of notes so that we can identify that with a little bit of extra information. But this first one, I want you to go ahead and over here, I want you to write noun phrase, because that is what this one is. And then we're going to put noun phrase in a box. Each of our phrases, as we identify them, will be in a box, the name of it. All right, and then I want you to pick up your pink, and we're going to go over the word noun in pink. Now, please do not underline. When I ask you to go over a word in color, please do go over that word in color. We'll be using color underlining for something different. So it's important that the color coding is the exact same as what I have pre-planned here. So you're going to go over your word noun in pink, this dark pink. And then when we look at this phrase, the friendly teenager is a noun phrase. So what noun in here? Is the a noun? Nope. Friendly? Nope. Friendly describes the noun. Teenager, that's the noun. So we're going to go over teenager in pink. Make that stick out, okay? So that's a noun phrase. Teenager is our noun. The next one, you may already know this. With a huge heart is called a prepositional phrase. Okay, let's go ahead and write. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not ready for that yet. Completely forgot that we need to jump over to our second page of notes. So not this one, but we're going to go ahead and jump to 6A, the second 6A. And we are going to give us some very specific information about noun phrases. Oh, I wrote noun phase. Oopsie, noun phrase. All right, at the top, we're going to write types of phrases. And then we're going to write noun phrase. Okay. Over here, for each one of these, we'll put it in a box and then we'll identify the important information about it. And then we'll have about 2 or 3 examples below. That's how we'll set each one up. So a noun phrase is composed of a noun and all of its modifiers. I'm going to write that. Okay. What does this word composed mean? Well, it simply means to make up of. So something that is composed of, that would be like the parts of it. We could also say created by a noun or created with a noun and all of its modifiers. We've already talked about the word modifiers, but I'll go over it one more time. A modifier is simply a word that adds information. It clarifies, it adjusts things a little bit, but it gives us more information about something. So a noun phrase is going to have our noun and then the words around it, okay, that are functioning to help us know what this noun is. Let's do a couple of examples here. The first example, we're going to identify examples with bullet points. We're going to skip down a line and come over here. We're indenting a little bit. The first one is the spotted puppy is up for adoption. Okay, this is not a noun phrase. This is an independent clause. It's a complete sentence, but within this sentence, we do have a noun phrase. So first we want to pick our noun. What noun? Puppy. And then what is the noun phrase? The spotted puppy. All of that together works as our phrase. So first we're going to go ahead and use our same color scheme here, which is the pink. Puppy is our noun. So we're going to go over puppy, not the whole thing, just puppy. So that's the noun. And then we're going to underline the whole noun phrase. So the spotted puppy is the whole noun phrase. We'll do one more. Go down one more line. The car wash does a great job of cleaning my car. Okay. What is our noun here? Car wash. Okay. We could just say wash. Car wash is the type of wash. The car wash is the whole noun phrase. Okay. And so you can see this is going to be our order. We're going to go through our poem, and then each type of phrase, we're going to come to this other page and we're going to add more information. So these two pages are going to work in conjunction with each other. So I'm going to slide that back underneath, come back to our phrase poem. The next phrase is a prepositional phrase. We're going to write that, and we're going to be using purple. And again, we want to put our phrases in boxes. We'll go over preposition in purple. Okay, now before we talk about why this is a prepositional phrase, I'm going to show you a list of common prepositions. Okay, so prepositions, these are really special words. They're really easy to pick out actually, because they are words that show us direction, time, place, location, and relationships between two or more nouns or pronouns. So if you look at these words like aboard, about, above, across, after, against, among, I'm just reading a few, between, beyond, down, throughout, toward, underneath, coming over to the third column, during, into, like, near, until, upon, with, within, without. Okay, and then we have compound prepositions. These would be where we have two or more words coming together, working as a preposition, like according to, in addition to, in front of, in place of, instead of, on account of. So take a minute and read through these compound prepositions. And then I'm going to take us back to the other page, and I want you to just take a minute and read through those prepositions. Okay, I had forgotten to ask you to just quietly read through this. Actually, you can read them out loud or to yourself, but just take a minute and go through all three columns. Right, when you can pause the video and go ahead and go through them. So the prepositions are purple. So prepositional phrases always begin, they begin with a preposition. The word with is a preposition. With a huge heart makes up the entire prepositional phrase. So we're going to go ahead and go over the word with, nice and heavy and bold in purple. Then we're going to go to our second page, and we're going to take some notes on prepositions, prepositional phrases specifically. Okay, so I want you to come down a line or two below the last part of noun phrase, and we'll write prepositional phrase. So by definition, a preposition shows direction. So we're going to write that really quickly. Prepositions show direction, time, place, location, and relationships between two or more nouns. Or pronouns. Okay, and then over here, we're going to identify some example prepositions. So, I'm just going to pull a few from our list. We'll do like a bracket, an open bracket, and we've got like the word at and within, whoops, and above, with. I don't know what's going on with my spelling today. And we'll do around, for, in, near. Probably it's helpful to have just a basic list of prepositions to kind of help you remember what they are. It's also very easy to Google a list of prepositions if you need to. If you're ever not totally sure if something is a prepositional phrase, just Google prepositions and see if you can find that word on the list. If it does one of these jobs, if it shows direction, time, place, location, relationships between two or more pronouns, then it's more than likely a preposition. Okay, so we're using purple. So let's go over preposition in purple. Okay, and then we're going to have just a couple of examples for a prepositional phrase. So one is going to be grab that pencil above the computer. Okay, so again, this is not a prepositional phrase. This is a sentence. This is an independent clause, but it has a prepositional phrase in it. So how do we determine the prepositional phrase? Well, first we have to find the preposition. Above is a preposition. It helps us know the relationship between pencil and computer, that the pencil is above the computer. So it shows us the relationship between them. It also tells us the direction of where or the location of where the pencil is. So above is our preposition. So let's go over above in purple. Okay, and then the whole prepositional phrase is going to follow the preposition. Above the computer. Now, we might have quite a bit more going on in this sentence. The entire rest of the sentence would not be part of the prepositional phrase, and many sentences have more than one prepositional phrase in them. And how do we find them? We find the preposition, and then we find the words that go with it. Okay, so that's the first example, and the second example is going to be okay, this is kind of an interesting one. Within, actually, I'm going to come up with another one that has two examples in it for us. Okay, I found a good one I just pulled off of the iExcel program that has 3 prepositional phrases within it, and it's going to give us a good little explanation. So we're going to write, barn owls usually remain with one partner for life, comma. But according to a recent study, comma, some owl pairs will separate if they cannot breed. All right, so now this has 3 prepositional phrases in it. In order to identify the prepositional phrases, we need to read through it and see if we can identify the prepositions. So we have barn owls usually remain with one partner. With is a preposition. So we're going to underline with one partner, okay? For life, for is a preposition. So we're going to underline for life. There's one, there's two. But according to a recent study, according to, that's one of our compound prepositions. So we're going to underline according to a recent study. We've got all three of them. Some owl pairs will separate if they cannot breed, and there are no prepositions after that. So what we're going to do is go through and identify the prepositions with our purple. Okay, and so as you can see, some prepositional phrases are fairly brief and some are a little bit lengthier. Don't be afraid to identify a compound preposition, which is going to be two or more words, and we consider that the preposition, and so what follows it will be the whole phrase, okay? All right, now we're going to move down to the phrase has stood firm. This is a verb phrase. We're going to write verb phrase. Okay, and we're going to use orange for this. We're going to go over our word verb in orange, and then has stood is going to be our verb. Right, and then we're going to go ahead and shift to our second paper, and we're going to do a little bit of notes on verb phrases. Okay, our next line here. Okay, and a verb phrase is made out of a verb or made with a verb. It could be helping verbs. Excuse me, has to have helping verbs. So made with a verb and a helping verb. And so you might be wondering, what's a helping verb? And so we're going to put our helping verbs down here like in a bracket. Well, here, let's stick with that same thing, a bracket. So we're going to have words like should, could, will, shall, have. What do we have on this one? Has, etc. Okay, that's not a comprehensive list of helping verbs, but that's an example for them. All right, and then we're going to do a couple of examples. The first one, again, bullet point. I have been reading about Africa in geography. I'm just going to stop it there. I'm going to pick up my orange because orange is what we're using for verb. So I'm going to go over verb in orange, and I want to go over helping verb. Gosh, that did not come out clear for me. Well, hopefully yours is a little bit clearer than mine. And the helping verbs, let's put those in a bracket. An orange bracket, I mean. Box there. And then have been. Okay, so we've got reading is our verb, right? And then have been goes with reading. I have been reading, so that's a verb phrase. Another one. This comes from the novel Lord of the Flies. Piggy could not see without his glasses. Okay, so in this case, see is our verb. Let's go over see in orange, okay? And then could see, it could not see, but could is our helping verb. Not goes with it. You can kind of lightly underline that, but it's could and see. Okay, and then we'll do the last one. Snow has been falling for days. Falling is our verb. And then has been goes with that to make our verb phrase. All right, we're going to now move on to the next one. We are almost done with today's lesson. We have, after verb phrase, we have adverb phrase. So very stubbornly is our adverb phrase. Okay, who remembers what an adverb is? I'm going to tell you a little secret. You definitely know nouns. You definitely know verbs. Well, adverb, if you just think about the word add in front of verb, it just means that we're adding to a verb. We're modifying a verb. We're providing additional information about that verb, okay? Telling us how the action was done. So that's how you can determine what an adverb is. You're adding to the verb. So an adverb phrase, we're going to use our green for that, our dark green. And an adverb phrase is going to, by definition, an adverb phrase is going to be two or more words working together. So here we have very stubbornly, okay? So we're going to go over both of these. Going to be part of our phrase. Okay, and now let's go to here. And I have filled up my page here. You probably filled up yours. So I'm going to actually turn 6A over. Whenever I end up with notes on the back side of something, I always draw an arrow and I write continued. So that as I'm skimming through this, when I'm looking for information, if I don't see what I need, I get to the bottom and I say, oh, I can flip this over and there's probably more. So we're going to flip this over and we're going to write adverb phrase. Okay, so an adverb phrase is going to be two or more words working together to function as an adverb. So it's modifying a verb to show us how, where, why, and when. So let's put that in a parentheses. Okay. Now, the example we're going to do, first of all, we will leave quite soon. Okay. The adverb phrase here, we are using green, right? Yep. Quite soon. Well, wait a minute. If these two words, they're working together to function as an adverb, do you remember that an adverb tells us more information about a verb? So what's our verb? Our verb is leave, right? And quite soon gives us more information about leave. So we're going to draw an arrow from quite soon to leave. Quite soon is our adverb phrase. The next one, we're going to do just one more example with this. The lesson went surprisingly well considering the hard content. Okay. And so now we need to determine, okay, what is the verb in the sentence? Went is the verb. Do we have anything modifying how it went? It went surprisingly well. And so surprisingly well is modifying our verb went. So that is our adverb phrase. Okay. Oh, I should have gone over adverb in green. Go ahead and do that too. And then the next one we're going to look at here is the verbal phrase, verbal phrases, and then we are, I believe, done with this lesson. Okay. Verbals. Verbals actually fall into, verbals, I should say, that's like an umbrella statement for 3 different terms that we're going to talk about. So verbals break into 3. This is just one example of a verbal. So for our verbal, we're going to go ahead and pick up our dark blue. Now, I know I said we're only using dark blue for independent clauses, but for this particular set of notes, we're going to use it for verbal. It does not mean that verbals are independent clauses. They are not. Okay. So verbal phrase. And in this case, the verbal is protecting. We'll break that down. Okay. Protecting the bullied student. So this is the whole verbal phrase, but the protecting, we're going to underline the ing here. So a verbal is a word that's derived from a verb, but it's acting as another part of speech. So this is actually considered to be, excuse me. Okay, I just made a decision to stop here at verbal phrase, to not put a whole lot of energy into that because this one is a lengthy one. We're going to need to break it up into 3 parts. And then I want you to be able to practice verbals separately so that you don't get overwhelmed with all of these different terms. So I'm sorry that I didn't catch that initially when I prepared this. So verbals will be included in the next lesson in 6B. They're part of this little poem, so I'll reference this, but then we'll be looking at it in the other lesson. All right, so with that in mind, this lesson is over, and I know it was a long one, and I'm going to identify the IXL path for you to go to practice. Not all of these, they aren't all going to be in IXL, unfortunately, but most of them will be. So the path for you to practice today. All right, so here's the path for practice today with IXL. You are only going to be practicing identifying prepositional phrases, and that will be this column. And then this column is just having you work with identifying adjectives and adverbs. That's all that we're prepared for today. The next lesson that you'll be doing tomorrow is going to be covering quite a bit more within IXL, but this is all that we've covered today that they have practice for. So if you're in 7th grade, you'll do H.1 and GG.5, and you should do 10 of each section correct, okay? 10 of each, so it will be a total of 20 problems, okay? If you're in 8th grade, it's II.1 and H8.5. 9th grade is X.2 and DD.1. 10th grade is X.2 and DD.1. 11th grade is U.2 and Z.1. 12th grade U.2 and Z.1. Good job hanging in today. I'm proud of everybody. All right, be ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a long one. Set some good time aside for that. Okay, make sure your pencils are sharpened.